Good morning and welcome to another weekly update. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a good week. Lots happening in the last week. It was good to catch up from some of the stuff from the week before with South Coast Summit, and those are some of the links I'm going to talk about this week. And then also there's some other things coming, and I think again it feels like we're in that breath holding season that you sometimes get around big Microsoft conferences. And what I mean by that is lots of teams, lots of product groups inside Microsoft, they like to announce things at big events like Build and Ignite and places like that. So they'll often hold back some announcements. So throughout the year, you tend to get trickle of announcements, trickle of new things. And then as it gets closer and closer to Ignite, sometimes that will dry up, and for me it feels like Microsoft are holding their breath. It's a collective breath holding before it gets to that big announcement, and then whoosh, all that stuff comes out in a sort of flurry of announcements. But there are things to look at, there are things to talk about. There's some things that I'm going to talk about next time that have already come out. It's just I haven't had a chance to kind of process them and write them up and really understand them, so I'm not going to talk about them this week. So we'll just have to kind of hold off on those things. But it's good because it means there'll be plenty of things to talk about next week and probably the week after as well. Again, which is good because we're coming into that, just before Ignite season. So it's kind of good to have things to talk about all the time. So let's get into it then. So first things I want to draw your attention to are two videos that I did covering South Coast Summit. So I talked a bit about South Coast Summit last time, so I'm not going to go over that again. I just want to let you know that I've now processed all of that video and edited it and turned it into two separate videos, one for the first day, the Friday, and one for the second day, the Saturday. The Friday is all about workshops and the Power Platform Hackathon. And the Saturday is all about the keynotes, the sessions, and the expo hall. So you can go and check those out. It's a kind of mixture of B-roll footage and me talking and some other bits and pieces. So if that sounds interesting, you can go and check those out. They're on my YouTube channel, but I'll put links to them in the description of this video as well. So you can go check those things out. The other thing I published this week as well is I spoke to Donna Sarker. So Donna Sarker is Director of Technology for Microsoft Accessibility. She's previously led developer advocacy for the Power Platform. Before that, she led the Windows Insider program. So really, really interesting person. I managed to grab some time with her at South Coast Summit to talk about developers, to talk about the Power Platform, to talk about Fusion Dev, to talk about hybrid working, to talk about mental health, dyslexia. We talked through a whole bunch of different things. I found it a really interesting interview. If that sounds interesting to you, there's a whole blog post I've done about it as well. Because I've taken the transcript because I thought it was kind of so interesting. Let me just show my screen real quick. So there is a blog post you can go and look at that I'll link to. It's got a link to the video as well, and it's got the transcript as well. If you just want to scan it, or if it's easier to use the transcript, you can definitely do that as well. So all of that stuff's happening. You can go and check all that stuff out. All right, so other things that have happened kind of in the ecosystem. There's only really one I'm going to touch on. I'm going to keep this one quite short this week. And this one I do want to talk about, though, because it's been kind of coming for quite a long time. And it's kind of now finally here. And that is the developer portal for Microsoft Teams apps. So what is this? So this replaces App Studio, which is the app that Microsoft have for building Microsoft Teams apps. This is now a website called the Developer Portal for Microsoft Teams. You can find it at dev.teams.microsoft.com. If this sounds familiar, it's because it was unveiled at Build this year, so much earlier in the year. That was the preview. It's now gone GA, so it's now available for everyone. Every developer can access this and have access to it. And there's a blog post by Karthik that just kind of goes through some of this in detail. So this is what it looks like when you see it. Again, dev.teams.microsoft.com. It's where you can go to register Teams apps. You can set up different environments. You can do all the things that you could do with the previous App Studio in terms of capabilities of your app, setting up what your app can do, where the images are, what the name, the title, the description, distribute it to the store, your organizational store, you can sideload, or your team store. You can look at Insight. You can do all the things you could do before, basically, but you're now doing it in a website. You're not doing it in a Teams app. It's kind of interesting the way this is. Like, for me, I think this is kind of interesting because a lot of this functionality is not new. It's just now available in an app in a Teams website, not in a Teams app, in a website where it was previously available in a Teams app. So kind of confusing, I guess, but like, not much changes here. It's just the format, if you like, of where you go. I guess why is the big question. I think having it in a website gives Microsoft a bit more flexibility in building it out further and building more capabilities onto it, maybe. I think also it's easier to access. So if you imagine, lots of really big companies and enterprises and orgs and stuff like that, they do tend to lock down app access. And so it might have been that having the app capabilities inside a Teams app called App Studio was preventing some developers from getting work done, whereas actually having it in a website is better and easier. It's kind of interesting. Like it perturbs me slightly, I suppose. It unsettles me slightly because I want Teams apps to flourish and shine, and you do that by showcasing their capabilities, right? And actually what this is doing is taking away some of those capabilities or taking those capabilities and moving them from a Teams app into a website. So it feels slightly unsettling. It feels almost like a step backwards. But I think if we have to take a step backwards in order to take 2 steps forward, and there's things that the team are going to add to this experience in the developer portal that were not possible to do in Teams apps, then I think this is a good thing. But yeah, a lot of this, what we're seeing at the moment, is the same functionality but moved over and made accessible through the website rather than through the Teams App Store. So, just one to be aware of. You can still use App Studio. However, let's be honest. Like, how long is that going to be there for? Now that this is GA and available to everyone, there's now 2 ways of doing the same thing. That doesn't feel like a great use of resource on Microsoft's side. So I don't know what the timeline is for App Studio, the app, but we'll just have to wait and see on that, I think. But if you use it every day, just kind of keep your ears open, I guess. Look for kind of messaging in the app. I'll do the same, and I'll shout loudly if I hear that it's going away or anything like that. At the moment, I'm not aware of anything. But yeah, it's just interesting. All right, that's really all I want to talk about this week. I did say I was going to keep it short, and I'm going to try and keep it super short. So, I think everyone's busy this week. There's lots going on. And like I said, there's lots of things that actually are on my list that I haven't really looked at that I want to try and get into this week. So my plan is to do those and have lots of interesting things to talk about next week. So in the meantime, have a great week, whatever it is you're doing. And I will speak to you again next time.